All right. Is this the same one? 8588. Cool. This is it? This is all people want to talk about? Console assert? That's it?
Produce.
I'm going to quit doing these. They're not very useful, clearly.
I mean, I have all the questions. You can just focus on me this whole time if you want.
I guess, yeah.
I would like to do the JSON thing again.
How do you use reduce in a nested array?
I don't understand the question.
It's like, let's say I have an array.
Nested inside of what?
Okay, so I have an array that is storing a price and a total. Right? So how do I take all of the second part of the...
Slack me some code. I don't know what you're... It's getting real complicated. All right. Cool. What do you want to know about console assert?
Everything. It's government name. It's mom. It's dad. It's all of it.
I mean, it's really not. There's not a lot to know.
Actually,
Console assert just, if you give it true, it does nothing.
do you? Okay, yeah.
And if you give it false, it raises an error with the string you gave it as the second argument.
Okay, so that's what I thought. In Indian, there's another diagram about like what it takes that I don't understand. So the second one, console assert, because the assertion of message, and then it has this like substitution.
I have no idea what that is, and I don't think you need to care about it. The whole reason console assert is in the phase 1 curriculum is to give you an easy way to intro into testing.
Oh.
That's it.
I'd
So,
rather use Mocha.
well, I know is if you have experience with that, then don't use console assert. That was only there to give you the simplest testing tool there was.
Okay, I got it.
And that's all you need. We don't even need it, right? We could just say if whatever, you know, and then so if the thing is not true, then just throw a new error, right? Like this is just a little bit more code than console assert, right?
Yeah.
And so rather than whatever we were testing before, that, you know, 1 is equal to 2, we'd need to wrap that in parens. Then we throw an error. You know what I mean? So that's all I meant. You were meant to take away from on the in that thing. So if you've already used Mocha and Chai and you know how to set it up and you know how to use those tools, that's what you should be using for testing.
Too late. I figured it out.
Instead of console assert, you're saying?
Again, the only reason console assert is in the curriculum at all is to give you your first simplest testing tool to start testing with some very simple assertions, and then building a test suite around that and learning how to use Mocha and Chai is like the next step to testing. So if you've already got that experience, then you don't need to go back and get simpler and learn simpler things. Cool. Did you send me something about this reduce nested array thing? What is this here? Cart equals, okay, cool. So it's like an array of arrays.
It's an array of arrays. Every time I add something to the cart, it creates a new array inside of the array. And I want to reduce all the prices down to a single sum total. $1,000 shoes.
No, that's what? $18 shoes.
Oh,
Okay. So you want what now?
I want to, like, I'd say, like, cart down, reduce.
What is your goal? What do you
I
want?
want the total of all the things, all the prices in the array. So.
Oh, I mean, so I would do this.
Oh, instead of reducing.
No, not instead of. I mean, we don't need to do it this way, but we can. So thing one will, now that maps you to all the prices, right? And then you do essentially a sum. So filter A comma B, return A plus B, right? So this gets you all the numbers, all the dollar values, and this just adds them up.
Oh.
And filter has this thing where the first time it calls your callback, if you don't give it a number, a starting value, A and B are the first two things. And then the next time it goes through, it's the previous result plus the third thing. And then it's the previous result plus the fourth thing, and so on, right?
So it'll just do that.
Right? So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we say filter A comma B console.log A and B, and then return A plus B, you'll see that it's fascinating. 1 and 0. Why is B 0? That's not how I expected things to work. And then if I give it an initial value, something is wrong. Because the result I'm getting back is exactly the same anyway. Oh, because it's not filter. What? Why am I typing filter? It's reduce. Ugh, sorry. There we go. So if you give it an initial value like 99, that's what the first A will be. But if you give it no initial value, A and B is just the first two elements, which returns 3 plus 3, which returns 6 plus 4, right? So if we wanted to have something a little better, 150, 23, 45, right? So 150 plus 50, or 100 plus 50, then 150 plus 23, right? And then if I'd given it an initial value, we'd get something like that. So your thing here where we've got a cart and cart, the total price is, yeah. So something like that.
Everybody's
Go back to the code for like 2 seconds.
The code is right on the screen. It's right here. Well, this is just the same.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Jared, I don't want you to stop doing these. It's just that everybody tests next week, so everybody's kind of freaking out. So people are just like buckling down.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, I mean, but like, if people were like, "Oh shit, we gotta like do whatever we can to get ready," like, if this isn't part of that support, then there's got to be a better way for me to be supporting folks.
Question.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
So I wanted to ask you about the I posted it in the Slack channel. It's making a calculator in the command line. I'm trying to find it backwards. But it's part of the command line arguments exercise.
Okay.
And the question said, it gave like, it says try to create a simple calculator that works like this. No, and then file.
I'm just gonna bring it up.
Yeah. I'll put the link in there.
What's the module?
The module is command, node input and output.
And it's this.
Command line arguments.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So try to create this.
Mhm.
Okay. What's your question?
So is that specifically saying just put that in node?
What do you mean put it in Node?
Like for example, I guess I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
Specific, part 3, yeah.
Okay. Well, have you done part 2?
Well, I just followed that.
So part 2 tells you exactly how to do it, right? And part 3, you're supposed to use what you've learned in part 1 and 2 to try to make something new, right? Where it doesn't give you the exact example, right? So here we have a node script, and up here is the same thing, right? We create a print argument script, and all it does is print the arguments, and then you run that script and you give it arguments, and it will output those arguments, right? So that shows you how to write a node script that receives arguments and can do something with them, right? And then in this part, we take in 2 arguments, a sort of command, and then and then some content, and we get the command and the content. We decide what to do based on the command, and then we do something, and that's it. So that's all it takes to be a command line interface.
So like for this one, it would be like the command would be add, and then you do like case add console.log.
You could do a case. We don't have to do a case, but sure, that's one way to do it. Yeah.
What's another way?
I mean,
It's not, it doesn't entail writing that.
well, I mean, what does a case statement do?
It's like a,
It's just like a series of if statements. Yes, you could do a series of if statements. You could make an object full of functions and try to do something with that, where the key of the object is the same as the command or something like that. There's a bunch of different ways to dictate this flow of program execution that we want. So where should we start? Like, how would you start writing this script?
Well, I would go to the top and see how. I'd go to the first one where it had the 2 at the top, where it said, and then now run. I would look at those 2.
Yeah, so the code for this is right here, right? It's literally just one line of print this array, right? So argv is an array of your arguments. Here we're getting the 3rd and 4th arguments. And then we're just doing whatever we want with them. So like step 1 is get the information from the arguments. Step 2, do something in reaction to that information.
And then step 3, just be writing the steps out.
Well, the reaction is the thing, right? So if you gave us any of these 3 exact lowercase strings, then we'll do these things. Otherwise, we'll do nothing.
Okay, I get it. So this is kind of like a template, and you just kind of follow the template. But
You can, yeah. This is meant to sort of scaffold this idea toward you, or so that you can see an example of a command line script and then try to make your own. But there's nothing prescriptive about this. There's some things that have to work this way, right? This is pretty much the only way to get your arguments. But you can do the rest of this 1,000 different ways, right? Like, all we need to know is, did you give us one of these 3 strings? And if you did, do these specific things in these 3 cases. So switch is actually totally appropriate here. It's a fine solution, but we could do if statements. We could do all kinds of different flow control here. This is a fine pattern, and this pattern, if you copied it exactly, would work just fine for calculator. So I would get this, copy and paste this into the file and get it working, and then duplicate it, rename it to calculator.js, and try to change how it works so it works the way these examples dictate. Cool.
Recording?
I am.
What's the difference between PG and PG?
Oh, the question is, what's the difference between PG and PG Promise? PG Promise uses PG and changes the interface so that it uses promises instead of callbacks. So they're the same, just one. Are you sure?
Yeah.
If then that's new, and we don't need PG Promise, but I'm unaware of that being the case, that PG uses promises. But that'd be sweet.
Isn't it like Postgres and Postgres promises, or am I misunderstanding?
I mean, it's PG. is the name of the package. Let's find out. Let's go to documentation. It has support for callbacks and promises. Okay, I guess we don't need PG Promise anymore if it has support for promises. I only used PG Promise because I like promises over callbacks, especially when you're doing queries, because often you need like either serial or parallel queries to happen. And so if it supports promises, then that sounds great.
So that's like a new update where it now supports promises.
I have no idea when this happened. Maybe I just used PG Promise because I didn't read the PG documentation or something. Who knows when this happened? Yeah. But as far as I know, that's the only main draw toward PG Promise, so maybe we don't need to use it. Cool. Fastest office hours ever.
Can we just practice the assessment?
Do you want to take a look at my code and see what I'm doing wrong?
I guess, sure.
So, I
Send
mean,
me
it's
your
for an
code.
assessment,
So,
to be completely transparent.
oh, it's for one of our assessments?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to help you with a test.
Not the very specific.
We want that. We want the test.
Okay, so can I give you like an interviewing problem like I got stumped on?
Sure.
Okay, so they wanted me to explain. Okay, so they wanted me to create an event listener.
Okay.
Now, the event listener had to grab an ad from the server, and I verify that the user watching it had ID.
Okay.
So just to make sure that people weren't trying to access their server, like their ad server, without actually like going through a game or something like that.
Okay.
Now, they wanted me to create 5 events inside of that, which were to declare that the ad had started being watched,
Yeah.
that it went 25% of the way through, 50% of the way through, 75,
Okay.
and completed.
Sure.
Go.
Yeah, there's so many questions I have about that premise, but I mean, you want me to just make an event listener, or do you want me to just pretend I have an event system and just like write the code that listens to those events?
I guess just create the event, like create an event listener that would fire off and like keep track of an event like that, like watching a video and then cutting off at specific points when you're not watching anymore.
I mean, I have no like frame of reference to where I would like start. I would just write made up code. So is there any like starting point that they gave you in this question?
No, they showed me a diagram and they were just like, go.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, so bind to some event. I mean, I don't know. We could write this a million different ways. What events am I getting and what am I emitting?
So it's coming through their server. It's getting a request for an ad.
Okay.
And then when the ad starts playing, it's going to start that event listener. It's essentially to keep track of how long they watch the ad for.
Okay.
And like which ads, so like to keep track of which ads are successful, which ones are people watching versus just skipping through, how often, like, you know, so that they can get their money essentially.
Okay. So, I don't know, some number between 0 and 1. And then maybe this event has like the ad ID on it or something. Yeah, I think I need more specifics to know exactly what to do.
Okay, so there's a ID for every ad. There's an ID for every user.
Okay. So I have this information,
Yes.
and these events are the real events, or what?
Yeah, they're real events getting, and there's up to 1,000 events per second.
Oh, well, I have no idea how to talk about optimization with this because I don't know what any of the tools are that we're using. Are we using like Kafka for event distribution? Like, what are we using for?
I think they said something about a Kafka server.
Okay. I mean, I don't know the syntax for any of the interfaces for any of this stuff, but like, I don't know. If something was giving me these events and I could maintain state of like who started what ad and how far that ad got and in terms of its progress, and then when they stopped closing that ad and if they got to the completion of that ad or not. Is that sufficient? I have no idea.
I don't know. That's how it made me feel the entire time.
Yeah, this sounds really like like a sort of nebulous question, but like I don't know, where am I supposed to be storing this data? Am I supposed to be like, do I have some other API for persisting state in this application?
Storing data, it's supposed to like essentially it's supposed to store it and then supposed to get all that information from the event listener, like how far they progressed through it, which ad, who it was, and then kind of store it into the ads database. So like each different event has its own ID that's being stored into the database for the ad.
Sure. I mean, I have no idea. I'm just making shit up.
It's a ridiculously difficult question.
I mean, if you were to just, I mean, I would just insert logs and then figure it out later is probably what I would do. It's just like every time these events came in reported from whoever, then I would just log these events and have some other system that was listening to those logs and materializing them into whatever state I needed to know, like how many ads did a user see, how far did they get in the ad, did they skip the ad. You can store that all in logs and then run through those logs and populate a database with the information about what happened and when and how many ads were witnessed and things like that. That's probably where I would start. I don't know. It's hard because like you only have like your also limited understanding of what they were actually trying to get you to do, right?
Yeah.
Unless they explain, do they explain it all at the end or something?
No, they're being very vague and asked for feedback or like what I could have done differently. And
Yeah.
they just said, well, you did good.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm
I
sorry.
think sometimes they try to gauge how much you know about what ads.
I mean, there's so many different people and approaches and stuff, but yeah, sure. Like most often, like when I'm asking folks to do stuff in an interview, I don't actually care if they can just like bang it out from memory, right? If I ask you to like show me how you would sort a set of complex objects or something, if you can just write it out really quickly, then I'm probably going to ask you a different question to try to figure out like, where do you get stuck? What happens when you get stuck? What questions do you ask to figure it out? Are you nice to be around when you're frustrated by a hard problem? All kinds of stuff like that. So there's like implicit intentions in a lot of the questions. You shouldn't assume they're just straightforward like, oh, I wish I had memorized that sorting algorithm because then I could have talked to, you know what I mean? It's usually about like, well, I don't know, so this is what I would Google, and okay, based on this, skimming this article, I think we should start here, and then I would try this, and I would confirm this, you know what I mean? Just really getting your mental process exposed. So I don't know. I would have just continued to ask questions until I felt like I understood the actual problem space.
Mm.
But if they're asking you to write code, I mean,
Because I kept asking them questions, but then they were kept on being, I think, purposefully vague about it until I asked like a specific question using the terminology that they wanted to hear.
sure,
Kind of
yeah.
shit.
Weird.
People.
I don't know. I got nothing. But I mean, that doesn't mean you can't keep talking. You can just keep saying like, well, I'm not sure what this and this is, but assuming it's this way, I would make this choice. And I don't know. Yeah, it's weird when you have to sit there and just feel like you don't have all the pieces to the game they're asking you to play. I don't know
And
what
then
you
they,
want me to
shake
do.
their head when you're asking.
What are the rules? Did they shake their head?
One dude
yeah,
straight
you
up shook-
told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was like, "Fuck,"
yeah,
like while he was interviewing me.
What?
Yeah, I'm like, "Wow, thanks,
awful.
dickhead."
Yeah, totally awful.
I would have been like, okay, I don't want the job.
Yeah, right.
I'm good on this
right.
actually.
I
He's
think,
like, all the other interviewers are cool except for like that one guy, which was the shitty part.
yeah,
I've been practicing. Thank you for your time and walking out of the room.
nice, nice. I don't think I'm a good culture fit. See you later.
I'm gonna take myself out of this.
Remove myself from the
All right.
situation.
All right. Well,
I have a question.
okay. Let's do it.
But it might be asking a little more of you than.
Huh.
Literally anything.
I can't make this thing go away.
I used
The
Like
command line
that.
to-do list.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could do like a quick breeze through it?
Yeah.
Like just yeah.
5 minutes go.
Oh my God. Da. All right. I'm just gonna make my state. Yeah, I'm just gonna make my state an array, I think. Maybe not. It's like plus A. Yeah. Cool.
What were you doing just now when you did hopeless?
I was trying to figure out if, because you can do like you can take a number and say plus plus, and it will return the existing number and then increment the variable, right? See how I got 56, but then it is 57. But if you do plus plus A, you get 50. You get the number and it changes it to that. So it's just whether you want the original or the new. So I want the new value of the last ID. So I'm incrementing last ID and using that to set this as my thing. And then we're going to say added item. Cool. So add added item hello there. And then we need to save state. How about set state? Firework. verify. Okay. If there's a JSON error. Why write file, state file path, data. Why write the file? Huh, why is this not being written? Is there an error that I am not seeing? Do I just not know how to use FS write file? Looks normal to me. I have no idea why this isn't working. Why no write file? FS write file, path to file, data to write to file. So that works. Calling set state, it's saying write file, it's setting it to the right path, it's setting in the right data. This is crazy. What the fuck? But it's still never calling this callback. All right, so there's data in here. Then I run this, and then there's no data in there, so it's writing something. FS write file, the path, the thing to write. I got nothing. Why ain't no fucking work?
How does FS write file work? I don't understand.
What do you mean? How does it work?
How does it work? Like,
So now it works.
Are you asking for the?
no, because I don't actually know anything about it. I mean, I don't remember anything about FS.
It's supposed to just write to a file. Okay, so now that's working. So why is it not working when I call add? Oh, this is why. Dumbass. I'm a dumbass. I'm a dumbass. I was just exiting my shit. All right. Adding hello there. There we go. Great. Let's remove this file. Remove all these unnecessary logs. Great. All right, so now we're listing. Callback's not a function. Why? Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay. If the key matches all digits, then don't do this. Cool. Okay, so now we can add and we can list. Great. And now we need one for complete. And we're not currently storing whether or not these things are complete or not. So instead of just adding input, I'm going to say that's the value of the to-do list item. And we'll just do that. And so down here, value. Start over with my data since I changed it. Other way around. All right, so now we have things, and now we want to complete them. So we want to say state input, which is our to-do. If we have a to-do, then we want to say state complete is true. And then console.log completed. To do dot value. Did I call it value? Value. Else we're gonna say console.warn. Or we're just gonna call the callback with a no. We're just gonna say console.warn. Unable to find to do with this. We're just gonna call this to do ID. And then great. So complete number 2. List. Yes, we need to say set state to save the state. And then when the state's done, log this. Great. And now we complete 3. Great. And I guess we could do the same thing for like an uncomplete. Uncomplete 2. Cool. And then we need a delete. Did I call it delete or remove? Delete. And so if the to-do ID is in the state, then delete state bracket to-do ID. So list, unexpected delete, forgot my comma. Delete 2. Yeah, let's get the value first. Before we delete that thing, delete, unable to find 2, because we already deleted it, right? Yeah, delete 1. Add some more stuff. List. And we can delete 4. And we can complete 5. So that's the whole thing, right?
Yes. Like, oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
I mean, I've been doing this for decades, so I would probably refactor a bunch of stuff at this point, but it works. So this is that thing that I was talking about before, where like we don't need to use a case statement, right? So I created an object that just has a bunch of functions in it, called the commands that I want to use, and I just said, is the command you gave me in there? If so, go get that function and run that function. And then I gave it a callback. So that's just one way to do it. We could have done a bunch of if statements. It would have been fine, but we're going to call them all consistently, maybe. So I did that. And then each of these things knows how to like save the state object when appropriate. And I saved the things like this it's just a JSON object with the ID, and then I store last ID so that I know how to increment forward. Cool.
Can you scroll back up? There was a line on line. Yeah, line 61.
Yeah.
Can you explain? Oh, okay, that's something. Check off.
Yeah, so it just puts the number. So this says go through each key, and only if the key is a number, so the last thing is getting skipped, we list the number, and then we get the to do, and if it's complete, we do an X. Otherwise, we do a space between the brackets, and then we just put the value after it.
Regarding reading and writing files,
Yeah.
I noticed with the async format, you do JSON.parse, but when I look in the docs, JSON.parse, like data equals JSON.parse, it's
Sure.
never in the docs.
That's
So
for the docs for read file,
Yeah.
because it has nothing to do with reading a file.
So I know it's supposed to like destringify JSON object.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that is a completely separate thing.
Yep.
Um,
A file just contains information. It's not even necessarily a human readable string. It's just bytes. It's a byte stream. And so when we read it as a byte stream, we can see that this is actually a UTF-8 formatted file, which means the bytes that we're reading should be translated into UTF-8 text characters. And then once we have those, then we can do a million different things. We can store XML, CSV, all kinds of text-based formats, right? The fact that I happen to use JSON here is just one format that I use. I could do a manual format here where I didn't use JSON, and I could define my own format that would probably still be in text. But we could just put like each to do on its own line with the ID in front of it separated by 2 colons or so, whatever format we wanted to, and then we'd have to write our own parser for that. But JSON is already an existing thing that's just going to do the right thing, even though it's probably going to add a little bit more text in there than we need. If there's a lot of like wrapping curly braces and stuff, but we don't care about size and performance in here is not an issue, so it's okay to use a format that's a little bit more verbose, but it's not going to be in the file docs because it has nothing to do with reading and writing a file, right? It's a layer on top of that.
Because I would forget how to write it, and I'd be like, let me go to the docs and look it up, and then I would find it there, and I'd be like, oh my god, but it's here. Where did it come from?
Yeah. Yep. No, it's a discrete, separate step. Yeah. Because you can't write an object to a file. You have to turn it into a string somehow to write it to a file. There's probably some way to write JSON in a binary format that's a little bit more terse and specific, but that's probably there's probably a BSON or something like that for storing things in binary instead of text. Cool. Do you want me to, yeah?
So I'm just writing a super basic server, and I got the top of it seemed like on the screen before, but like, do you want the application node to accept incoming network connections? And I don't recall ever getting that.
What, are you running Little Snitch or something?
What's that?
Are you running Little Snitch? There's an app called Little Snitch that blocks network connections for applications that you don't explicitly give permission to.
Not that I know of, so it's possible that's a thing, but I don't understand why I'm suddenly getting that with.
I don't know. It might be an Apple security thing that you have turned on, but like basically your Node application is asking to bind to a port. And when it binds to a port, it's able to receive connections from that port, right? So there's probably a firewall that you have turned on that's asking you, like, do you want this program to have access to receiving incoming communications? Because there's a lot of responsibility that comes with an application being able to do that, right? So that's probably a firewall thing that's turned on. I have my Apple firewall turned off, but if you have yours on, you might be getting that. I honestly don't know what exactly. I'm just guessing.
If I have a server on my local host, I guess I'd be able to accept incoming. Other people would be able to get to it if they had my IP address. Is that right?
Yeah, in this room, if you're on the Wi-Fi, you have a DHCP private address. So only people on the local network would be able to initiate a connection to your machine. But yeah, basically, if port 3000 or let's just assume it's that, is bound to by your Node Express application, and then that port is exposed through your firewall, then I can go visit your server from over here if I know your machine's network name or IP address.
Just so weird. I've never
Yeah.
done this before. And I really don't think I've changed any settings.
I don't know. I feel like I don't change my security settings on my Mac ever, but Apple keeps turning them back on. Like I'll do a software update and it's like, oh yeah, you don't want this setting turned off, turn it back on. Yeah, it's super annoying. All right. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah.